So look, we got time for questions. How long we got? They ain't got no watch. I might already be over. So look, we got 40 minutes. That's a whole class. And they said you guys have to write stuff down on a card and pass it in. I said, nah, man. Let's talk. So you find any microphones? So there's a microphone right there. Some of y'all have to slip out or use the restroom, whatever, that's all right. But the rest of you, I'm very happy to take questions. And here's how we're going to do it. I'm not going to answer your question, okay? I want to let 2, 3, 4 people ask their questions, and then I'll answer them in a batch. That way we hear from more people, and I get a better sense of where folks are coming from. So, is this a microphone? Okay, so y'all, don't be shy. Come down here and form a line. Some of you guys acting like you're forming a line, you're sneaking out, I see you. And this is always the best part, when you hear from your peers and they try to trip me up with different tough questions. And you can watch a professional BS artist just dodge. Go ahead, sir.
Is this on? All right. Good morning, everybody. Mr. Jones, if I understand what you're saying correctly, is that jobs went out, there were all these displaced workers, and I guess the banksters needed to pay very low wages, so they decided to make prisons. Because from what I understand, I mean, they do have a workforce in these prisons, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Turn around, look behind you. You got a long line. So give me your question.
True. What can we do to bring those jobs back to the people, good paying jobs,
Good.
Instead of ending up in prison?
Perfect, thank you. Next question.
Morning. So Donald Trump is obviously a massively flawed candidate on multiple levels, but it seems he has tapped into a sort of fear and insecurity in this country and has kind of shifted the blame to people like immigrants and minorities. What is your fear that a more polished candidate could use those same fears and actually succeed?
Great. All right, thank you.
Morning, Mr. Jones. My name is Angela Andrews, and I used to work corporate America in the 90s, and I did the medical management.
You work for who?
I used to work for corporate America in the 90s for medical management, and for the call centers, they outsourced pretty much all of the positions to India. Telemarketing was based through India, so our company was hit with a lot of job displacement. In addition to that, I concur with you as far as voting and making it a stance. My question to you even more extensively is, the media distorts things. What would be the root of resource to get the true definition of one's character and to know the definition of whatever bill's being introduced? How do I truly get the facts? That's my question to you, so we can change the dummies in America.
Thank you.
Good morning, how are you?
Good.
So, thank you. My question is also about Donald Trump. I just have this fear that what if he becomes elected? I don't know if the election is going to be rigged or not. I don't know if you think it would be rigged or if he actually won because people actually voted for him. And what could he actually do to better our schools since he opened the school and all of his businesses pretty much failed? So, thank you.
I like that question.
How you doing, sir? As a citizen soldier and a veteran of the Afghan war, one of my biggest concerns is Russia and the lack of coverage. What are your thoughts on how the U.S. and NATO are making very dangerous moves on the Russian border that could lead us into World War III?
Good morning. So I was listening to you talk about how we have these two flawed parties, and no one ever wants to talk about any of the other parties, nor do they want to talk about organizations like ALEC or any of the just wrongdoing that every single president has ever done or anyone in power. Who do we actually vote for? Because we don't have any options.
How you doing? Good morning. I'm also from the South. I'm from Virginia. I know how it feels to leave the South, and I just want to know, what was a turning point for you? Like, how do you talk to your people back home? Because people get stuck in a real country mindset sometimes, and they can't see that the system's flawed at all. So, yeah.
Cool. Hi. Sorry. So I'm not from this country, so I want to ask a little bit more toward schooling. And I have a black brother that was not able to come today, and I wanted him to come as well. For our school system, most people actually don't come to school or have low institution for actually going to college or anything like that. Even my little sister, who is in middle school, doesn't like going to school. And most of her classmates and things like that don't actually like going. What better way, and I really like the speech that you gave, to actually get out of our way of being poor, but how do we engage those people who are not willing or not able to go to school, you know? Thanks.
Good morning, Mr. Jones. Thank you for being here. My question to you is, what are your thoughts on the solidarity movements this weekend on shaming CNN's lack of coverage on the Dakota Access Pipeline? Thank you.
Mr. Jones, thank you for coming. Last time you mentioned self-driving cars, and it seems that we're on the brink of the future, a high technology society, and the future is really coming. And I'm worried about automation, computers taking over jobs, and San Francisco, Los Angeles, we have all these cities that are so desirable, and rent is getting higher and higher. I'm worried about will the less privileged people still be able to participate in this high technology society, or that's my question. Thank you.
Good morning. I was in a blog war this morning with somebody who told me to stop listening to MSNBC. And I know I get my information from a lot more sources than that, but I said I would if they stopped listening to Fox News. So my point is that where do we go from here when people can't seem to believe each other's media and their facts, and how do we cross that line? And I don't know if we can, but I'm curious. Thank you.
Hi, Mr. Jones. Nice to see you. I'm here. I want to hear more about what you've done behind green technology and green jobs, especially for everyone, and kind of what you think is where we should be going. Is it more solar, or what are the industries we should be investing in our time in? And what are your real thoughts about us even moving to being a more sustainable community, politically type of thing? Thanks.
It really is an honor to meet you, Mr. Jones. I have 2 radio shows from the college radio stations, one of which is a political talk show. First question I have is, where do you believe I need to focus? Because we do broadcast to the college community, and because it's on the internet, we are actually broadcasting to the world. Where do you believe I should be leading my show in terms of political talk? The other one is, how do I get to where you're at without getting to go to Yale?
After listening to you talk, I thought about a lot of black leaders that we had in the past. And do you ever feel like what you're doing, you're real influential, you touch a lot of people in this room.
you ever feel like, even though the good you do, you ever feel like that'll get you killed one day? That's my question.
To kind of bounce back off of the technology talk we were having earlier with advancement of cell phones, smartphones, internet connectivity, and even 3D print technology, self-driving cars, do you think the generations coming up can, in order to fight things like NAFTA, create our own jobs, our own industries across the country?
What do you think about Ted Cruz's comments about letting the Supreme Court dying later this week or last weekend?
How reputable are these Project Veritas action videos, and what's the worst scenario for the Democrats with this Huma Abedin laptop and all these new emails?
What was your first question?
How reputable are these Project Veritas action videos? Like, what's the impact that these can make?
Hello, my question's also about the Dakota Pipeline, Access Pipeline. Do you know, maybe have more insight on how it's going to affect Californians and what Californians that oppose the pipeline can do to support the Standing Rock Indians?
Good morning, and I'd like to first say it's an honor that I can say I had a face-to-face conversation with Van Jones at Long Beach City College. And you mentioned about mass incarceration and scoping out your audience. A lot of them were not even born when people were being incarcerated in the 80s. How can you educate them on teaching their children not to be a part of the statistics that keeps that building and that business in business? How can we bankrupt the prison system?
Hi, I was just wondering, since you're affiliated with CNN, what your take is on the recent allegations against Donna Brazile and the alleged early disclosure of the questions to Hillary Clinton for the debate.
My question is, if the majority of the poor or minority are being stuck in the criminal justice system, how come for the past 30 years or over 30 years, I have not seen anyone campaign about these changes? Or what can we do as a community to help shed this light to those families?
My question to you is, in some states, they are suing the Obama administration for the transgendered restroom issue, and I want to know your opinion. I'm a psychology major, want to go into that. Obviously, there's a need for that, but I was wondering what your take on that was.
Good morning, Mr. Jones. I'm like your biggest fan.
What'd you say?
I'm your biggest fan, and I have
I'm my biggest fan.
Believe
that.
I have a 3-year-old that says, "Oh, Van Jones." I have a 3-year-old. So.
Oh, wow, that's awesome.
But I'm here today to ask a really poignant question to not only you to help me, but to the students as well. My son, who's a student here, first-year student, 18 years old, and he was a big Bernie supporter, huge Bernie supporter. And his problem now is that he doesn't know who to vote for. He's having a problem with the Hillary team, and he's having a problem with the Trump side. I'm more of a moderate. I'm what we consider politically fluid. Whatever helps my community, that's who I am. And I'm having a hard time to convince him because generationally, I vote. No matter what the situation is, I will vote. So my question to you is, how do we get the message out that to the students that do not take this vote liberally and say, well, I'm just going to vote for whoever else is on the ticket, or I'm just going to write in a candidate, because we just can't do that. This is so important.
Are
How
you
do we
asking me a
get that
question,
out
or you
there?
giving a speech to your son?
So what I'm saying is, how do we get on CNN? How do we get the message out to the students to vote, really vote?
All right, thank you, sister.
My question is, how should we feel about Hillary Clinton's ongoing investigation? She actually came to our campus, and I got a chance to meet her, but now I'm not really sure about her.
When you met her, what'd you think?
She's amazing. She's a really kind, humble person.
And so, I'm just curious. So, you met her, you thought she was amazing and kind and warm, and then you saw some things in the media, and so now how do you feel?
I don't know how to feel. I watched CNN a lot. I actually saw it yesterday at the gym, and they were going back and forth, and I just didn't know what to believe. I mean, obviously they're biased. That's how I feel. I feel like everyone on CNN is biased to how they believe, but I really don't know anymore.
Okay.
I don't want to vote for Trump. I think I'd rather just not vote. That's my opinion.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. What's your name, sis?
Tally.
Tally?
Hi. So I think this generation has become aware of institutionalized racism, which I think is great. And I wanted to ask, do you see our police brutality situation getting any better? I feel like lately it's been kind of forgotten, so yeah.
Good. Now, you already didn't ask a question.
I know, but I have another one. You said it's a Q&A. You didn't say it's a Q&A.
It's Q&A, not Q&A, but go ahead.
Hey, Q&A means Q&A, so I asked one question, so now I'm asking another one.
That's not a problem. Go right ahead. I'm just
So I have a question for you, though, Mr. Jones. I'm also a fan of yours, watch you a lot on CNN. But you said that you don't trust the people in power, and I understand that. But this one kind of relates to my mom's a personal kind of matter. But like, how do you, once you've been done wrong and you're a lawyer, how do you go about getting the right information to go back and sue?
Okay.
So.
All right, last two.
Well, Mr. Jones, I'd like to first thank you for being here, and I'm just curious, are you going to be able to get to all these questions? Because there are a ton of questions here.
Hey, trust me, on TV you learn how to answer quick.
So I actually, anybody who have not seen a documentary, The 13th, which is on Netflix, definitely need to put that on your list and see it. And my question kind of relates to the thoughts with respect to the criminal justice system, in the fact that once a person is arrested, not convicted, but arrested, and they are put in the system, the prosecutors gambles with the other person's life, meaning that they say, well, hey, we don't care if you are innocent or guilty. You could take a deal for 3 years, or you can gamble and take one for 30 if we go to trial. So what I like to know is, what are your thoughts on how we as a society, as a community, starting from that level, how we can try to change how the criminal justice system works, where the prosecution, who has nothing to lose.
Yeah, I get it. Good question. Good question.
How the prosecutor have nothing to do. How can we change the trajectory of how they prosecute?
I get it, yeah.
Okay, you got it?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
I guess.
You're also clairvoyant.
Hi, I'm a big fan. I love it when you're on Bill Maher. And my question is, since we live in an increasingly globalized world, which, as you said, is pretty much a good thing, how can we bring power to the average good U.S. citizen without disrupting and knocking back equality in other nations? Because I know there's a huge, right? Thank you.
That's good. Thank you very much for your questions. Now look, just that, wasn't that extraordinary? Like how much, give a round of applause to yourselves. Now listen. First of all, the questions that were asked reflect so much intelligence and insight and concern. See what I'm saying? Just a question. We'll get to my answers, and you have your own answers. But in this room, you have a tremendous group of peers. How many of you guys were surprised by how many people went up to the mic and how strong the questions were? How many were surprised by that? Okay? Now, a lot of times I go on campuses, and again, they're so scared that you guys are either going to be belligerent, or have nothing to say, that they just make everybody write your stuff down. And I'm up here talking, and you guys are like, about to break your wrist with the questions. And I just want to encourage, this is so much better. Because you get it, I could walk off stage right now and you would still be benefited by seeing how strong your peers are. Let me just walk through some of this stuff. And you can see, some of these things kind of batched together. And we had, by the way, if anybody's keeping count, 27 questions. And how much time do we have? 21 minutes. Perfect. So, one big set of questions had to do with what we can do to bring the jobs back, and how do we deal with this kind of globalized world. And I think that there are no easy answers. And I think we have to accept that. There are changes that we need to have at the top where, we get the government to do different. But a lot of it's going to come down to us. It's going to come down to communities. And the things that I think we don't tell working class kids, middle class kids, kids from poor neighborhoods enough are the 3 things I wish you knew that would make the biggest difference for you, and if not for you, for your cousin or for your kid. We don't study finance. We don't. Black folk, brown folk, poor working white folk, we study everything. We don't study finance. We don't study technology. We use it. We download apps. We don't know how to upload apps. We don't know how to write our own computer code. And number 3, Mandarin. Yeah, I said it. Mandarin. You're living in a world where Asia is on the rise compared to everybody else, and we still worrying about, what this person sitting next to you is doing. You're not competing against the person sitting next to you. You're competing against 1 billion plus people in China, and you got to be able to talk with them. And so the first thing we have to do is say, yes, most of us want to be in the helping professions. Law is a helping profession. Teaching is a helping profession. Medicine is a helping profession. But whatever profession you're in, you're going to be so much better at it if you've taken some business and finance classes, if you've taken some technology classes. Oh, I'm not good at that. You don't know you're not good at it if you're good at it. You haven't even tried. Oh, it's got math involved. No. A lot of the technology now is just logic-based. It's not even math-based. And then, Mandarin is very hard. But if you learn that, you're going to be able to get a job anywhere in the world. But we don't teach people that. So at the individual level, study finance, technology, and Mandarin. I guarantee you, take one of the 3, you're going to be a lot better off. 2 of the 3, you're going to be much better off. 3 of the 3, you're going to be fine. You will be all-right. Okay? So, someone asked about Trump. What if you had a more polished candidate, somebody who didn't make so many mistakes, but who had the same ideas? We would be in deep trouble. Across the Western democracies, you're seeing a rise of racism. Not just America, the UK, France, Britain, all the European countries and the Western democracies, as they look and see this world changing so much. You go to France, you see as many Africans in France as you see, walk around in Oakland, African descended people. That shocks a lot of people. And change is hard. And so what you're going to see is a choice for all these countries, including America. Do we turn to each other or on each other? Do we turn to each other or on each other? And you're going to have the Trumps and other people like Trump and smarter ones, like there's a guy named Tom Cotton. Remember, I told you, Tom Cotton. He's a senator from Arkansas. He is a horror show. And he is much smarter than Trump. He went to Harvard, he was in the military, and he's going to do everything Trump did, but he won't have all the mistakes and he won't be grabbing nobody's P words. And you're going to have to deal with it. So you could have a real challenge there. There were questions about the media and the media distorting stuff. You're just going to have to consume more rather than less. The liberal media is biased, MSNBC, Fox is biased. If you want to be a leader, you have to listen to both. Now, I'm a liberal, but I try to listen to Fox as much as I can. I will say this about Fox. I may have said it before. Anytime you have a news organization that is named after a sneaky predatory mammal, that you can't trust to guard the hen house or anything else, you need more sources than that. Someone asked a question about Russia and concerned about World War III. We're in World War III. This is World War III. It's cyber. It's hacking. It's stealing emails. It's disrupting elections. Russia is already attacking America. Our friend Talley has been a victim of Russian counterintelligence. She met Hillary Clinton face to face. She knows she's a good person. But they have deliberately now poisoned the system so that we can't trust each other, we can't trust the vote. Somebody said, can we even trust the vote? This isn't an accident. I told you all the internal failures of the two parties making these dumb mistakes, but we have external enemies, and Russia is hacking these emails and giving them to WikiLeaks, so WikiLeaks will disrupt America. So be aware of that. It's very important that we not fall for it. Somebody said, should we vote? Absolutely. A mom was talking about her son. Let me tell you this. I'm going to tell you very honestly about voting. You cannot actually get everything you want in the ballot box. You can't. You can vote all you want to, and you cannot get everything you want in the ballot box. But in the ballot box, you can lose everything you have. You see, if you don't vote, you can lose everything you have. And that's the thing that people don't understand. No, you can't go up in there and vote for one person to have a perfect country. Whoever told you that, you need to slap them. Okay? No, democracy is not an app you just download and it all works great. That's not how it works. And I'm sick of these young people coming to me saying that, they voted one time for one dude who's like a gazillion years old and looks like a Muppet, God bless him. And because that didn't work out, they're just gonna quit. What the hell is wrong with y'all? That doesn't make any sense at all. Do you know how many bad elections the Latino community has suffered, and the black community has suffered, and women have suffered, and LGBT have suffered for how many decades and centuries? You got one primary vote you didn't like and you gonna quit? Damn. That is just ridiculous. This is a long fight. Now I'll tell you something else. Honestly, in a state like California, you have more freedom to vote for more different parties because probably the Democrats are going to win California no matter what. Probably the Republicans are going to win Mississippi no matter what. So, if it comes down to your vote in California, then we in deep trouble. So, listen, if you want to, vote for a third party or fourth party or fifth party in California this time, I wouldn't argue with you about that. But what I would argue with you about is you didn't get your way and then you take your ball and go home. You didn't get your way and then you let, an orange nightmare take over your country. Just saying, just for example. It could, I'm not being partisan, I'm just saying. That's not the right way to think about things. Somebody asked, can we create our own jobs and industries using new technology? Yes. And it's so important. They have 3D printers where you can print stuff that you can go to Walmart and buy, you can just print at your own house and sell to somebody else. There's co-ops, there's collectives, there's organic gardening, there's all kinds of micro businesses that you can be a part of. You're going to have to be more entrepreneurial. You're going to have your main job, but you should have some side hustles. And use new technology and be ahead of it. There's virtual reality, there's augmented reality, there's all these things coming down. And if you look at a black magazine or a Latino magazine, none of that stuff is in there. If I could beg you to do one thing, subscribe to Wired Magazine and Fast Company Magazine. Wired Magazine, Wired Magazine and Fast Company Magazine. Only because you will be shocked by how much is happening in technology that we know nothing about. And if you just learn one or two things and you start focusing on that, you can jump to the front of the pack. Somebody else asked about clean energy, same concept. I'm a part of an organization called greenforall.org, and you can go on my website, Green for All, not green for some, greenforall.org, where you can learn about how to get involved in the solar industry, how to get involved in energy efficiency. There's so many jobs coming, but they don't tell us about them. Somebody asked about these videos, these BS, made-up, phony, ridiculous videos. Project Veritas is a sham. They will come around and they will go to an organization that has 1,000 people in the organization, or 50,000 people in the organization, and they'll interview everybody with a secret little video. And they'll find the one fool who will say some crazy, deranged, needs some therapy, should be shot in the neck with a dart nonsense. And then they'll take that and they'll cut it up to make it sound worse. And then they'll put that on the internet and everybody can say, oh my God, everybody in Planned Parenthood is a lunatic. Oh my God, everybody who works around Hillary Clinton is like doing all this dirt. And it's like, no, this is just a fool you found and took out of context. And they've done it over and over again. They've been caught doing it. So that is nonsense. Do not listen to that. Somebody asked the question, what's going to, will Hillary's conduct with regard to her email server impact the election? And somebody else asked, and what if Trump is president? Let me say a couple things about Hillary and her emails, and let me say something about Trump. I ain't gonna lie to you. Hillary Clinton having that server in her house was 100,000% wrong. She should not have done that. And if I had done that when I was working in the White House, my black ass would be in Guantanamo, okay? Y'all would never have heard from me again. What happened to that dude? We don't know. We don't talk about him. Be quiet. Some people came in dark suits and sunglasses, and they shot him in the neck with a dart, and he's gone. Don't ask about him. We never knew him. He never came to our campus. That's what would have happened to me. So when they say it's a double standard, it is a double standard. When they say she was wrong, she is wrong. I don't have to sit up here and pretend that, something's good is bad and something bad is good. And when she then tried to spin it and make it seem cool and kind of lie, that's wrong too. If you do dirt, just say you did dirt. Don't you have people in your family that say, well, you know you did dirt. Why is your mouth still? Just say you did the dirt. You had to break up with people. We know what you did. I got your phone. I see these texts. Then you still like, oh, well, see, baby. No, baby, nothing. You was doing dirt. And we can work it out if you just admit to the dirt. Now you're doing dirt on top of the dirt. So folks like us, we're not putting up with that. We're not gonna, no, okay? That's dirt, and you should have admitted it, and so you did. So now you got 2 strikes with me if you're Hillary Clinton. You do. I ain't gonna lie to you. On the other hand, Donald Trump, from my point of view, strikes all the way out multiple times a day. I can't even keep track of, I try to keep a list, and I just can't, I had to get like one of them big rolls of paper towels to keep a list of all this nonsense that he has said and done. So to me, it's not even close. But no, I'm not going to pretend that good is bad and bad is good. Somebody asked about the pipeline. Most important fight in the country right now is this fight to keep the water clean. Water is life. Oil is death. It's as simple as that. We should leave as much oil and coal in the ground as possible. Oil is something that died 60 million years ago. Coal is something that died 150 million years ago. Now, your society wants to dig up all this death and then burn it in engines, in power plants, and then be shocked when after digging up all this death and burning all this death, you now got death in the lungs of our children when it comes to asthma. You now got death on the oceans when it comes to oil spills. You got death coming from the skies in the form of climate chaos and disruption. That's what you get when you burn death. What did you think was going to happen? Somebody asked about the green stuff. Yes, you have an alternative, your generation, to use living things, not death. Use a living sun and solar panels, not death. Use the living wind and wind turbines, not death. Use smart biofuels that are living and growing, not death. Use the living environment and living imagination of our children and our young people, not death. Use the living skills of our laborers, our workers in the so-called Rust Belt. Put them to work, building wind turbines and solar panels. Use life, not death, to fuel your society. And that's poetic, but it's also pragmatic because you have the technologies. You got to study them, though. Okay? Somebody asked about my good sister Donna Brazile. I can't comment on all the stuff that was said or not said, but I will say this. She's the best person in this country as far as I'm concerned. Donna Brazile has been on the front lines fighting for justice and helping women and people of color and poor people her whole life. When you hack somebody's emails and then you put them back out, nobody knows what was changed. Nobody knows what was deleted. Nobody knows what was added. And I'm not going to give the Russians the satisfaction of turning against one of our best Americans because they want me to. I'm not going to do it. Somebody asked about the transgender restroom issue. I think that people need to be able to go to the restroom of their choice. There is no epidemic anywhere in the world or in the history of the world of anybody going into somebody's bathroom and doing something to nobody. That is not happening. Transgender people are not going into bathrooms assaulting people. You can't find a single case of that ever happening, ever, not one case. So what it is, people are uncomfortable with the whole idea of transgender people. And so rather than dealing with their own fears and their own misunderstanding and getting educated, they have made up a fantasy that somebody is going into restrooms attacking people. Has anybody in this room ever been attacked in a restroom by a transgender person? Does anybody know anybody who's ever been attacked by a transgender person in a restroom? Does anybody know anybody who's been attacked by a transgender person ever? So then what are we talking about? Okay? This is just fear and bigotry and nonsense that needs to be opposed. And the pipeline in there. Ted Cruz sucks. That was short. Got Tally. The police issue. Look, There have been police brutality going on. Dr. King in his speech talked about police brutality. He said the Negro can never be satisfied as long as he is the victim of the unspeakable horrors of police brutality or police violence and brutality. You guys memorize the speech yourself. What's different, and somebody said, oh, well, now it's not as seen. Well, maybe over the past few months, but it's been more seen in the past 2 years than ever before. And even in 2012, Barack Obama, President Obama, at his re-election, his re-inauguration, his re-nomination in 2012, the Democratic Party platform under Obama in 2012 had no mention of police brutality, no mention of criminal justice. And this year, it was all over the platform because you guys have been using these things and raising so much hell about it and marching and talking about Black Lives Matter, and that has made a tremendous difference. So yes, it's not going to be every month, but we have more momentum than we've had before. And by the way, when people say Black Lives Matter is a bad slogan because it's racist and whatever and all lives matter, that's a bunch of hooey, and I'll tell you why. The same people who were mad at you for saying Black Lives Matter will turn right around and say Blue Lives Matter. Well, hold on a second. You're saying Blue Lives Matter. Does that mean you hate the firefighters? Does that mean you're prejudiced against the school teachers? Or any other city employee? You're picking out blue lives, police officers' lives, and you're saying their lives matter. Are you therefore saying you're against every other city employee? No, you're saying you're concerned about this one group because you think this one group is imperiled. Well, then if you can understand that for Blue Lives Matter, then you know damn well we're saying the same thing with Black Lives Matter. We're not saying nothing negative about nobody else, but we're saying this one group we're concerned about. So, please watch Netflix. The 13th is an incredible documentary with a brilliant person in it. On this question of the Dakota of the prosecutorial misconduct and prosecutors abusing people and getting points for putting innocent people in prison and never getting in trouble, we should have a ballot measure that says prosecutors who do that should go to jail themselves and put the prosecutors under the same pressure that everybody else is under. Somebody asked about how you talk to folks back home. At this point in your career, don't worry about that. You're doing well. How can I go back to the hood and get everybody else to do well? Dude, get an A instead of a B. Start with that. See what I mean? Y'all are so good-hearted that as soon as you get 1 foot out the hood, you're trying to reach back and get 27 more people and getting pulled back. Please take 2 steps out the hood, 3 or 4. And everybody's not coming. My dad couldn't get everybody out the hood. He got everybody out the hood that he could. But focus right now on building a peer group that's trying to get someplace. And then all them knuckleheads in your family and back home, you can talk to them later. But y'all are too early in your careers to be worried about all that. And then the last thing is, World War II, ALEC. Okay, look, there's a group called ALEC. They do a bunch of dirt. There's a bunch of bad stuff. Don't focus on the negative groups like ALEC that do dirt. Focus on the positive groups and support them. You know, Voto Latino is a positive group. If you're not down with Voto Latino, you need to get down with Voto Latino. Focus on the positive groups. Colorofchange.org, that's a positive group. Don't worry about the negative ones, join the positive ones. And then, how do you get where I am without going to Yale? Just work hard. I mean, look, I like to think that I would have gotten here without Yale, but Yale helped me get there faster. But people I'm on TV with didn't go to Yale. You know, God will put you where you're supposed to be. And then somebody asked if I worry about getting killed, and I'll close with that one. You know, I don't. And I think that part of the thing is, and why I worry about you guys, they try to make you afraid to be great. They don't have to worry about sending the Ku Klux Klan into your community. They don't have to worry about sending the Minutemen in to the Latino community. They don't have to worry about sending a bunch of gropers and dudes into every woman's life. They don't have to do all that stuff to the LGBT because we limit ourselves. We are scared to succeed. We are afraid to be great. And we'll focus more on the fact that Dr. King got shot than what he did the 13 years before he got shot and changed the whole world. And by the way, Dr. King was shot at 39, which meant he was in his mid-20s at Montgomery. Dr. King was 24, 25 years old at Montgomery. All that Rosa Parks, bus driver stuff, he wasn't 90 years old. He didn't live to be 40. So you got a kid that was 33 on the steps of the Washington Monument. 33 years old, freestyling, hip hop, spoken word poetry on the steps of the Washington Monument, the so-called March on Washington. A 33-year-old kid doing spoken word poetry and freestyling changed the world. They got a monument to him. They got a statue of him in Washington, D.C. But we focus more on the bullet than we focus on the 13 years of achievement. I don't worry about any of that. I'm not great enough to get shot. I'm not. I hope to be great enough if somebody think about it, then I might lead the country. But until then, I'm gonna keep climbing and you keep climbing. Thank you very much.